Welcome everybody to the Songbird Sessions podcast. Every episode we sit down with some of the most inspiring women in the music industry to find out what makes them tick.
We're your hosts, Danielle Matthews
and Marina Peish,
co-founders of the LA-based music platform Songbird Sessions. You can find us on social media at songbird_sessions.
Enjoy the episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of the Songbird Session podcast. We are joined today by the one and only Ariel Beesley. Welcome, Ariel.
Hey, hi. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
It is so good to see your face over the screen. So for those of you listening who do not know Ariel, she is a brilliant singer-songwriter, activist, model, fashion icon. I think
oh my God. Thank you.
I mean, I think so.
I got me blushing already.
More people saying that you are the modern day Blondie.
Woo!
And I think aesthetically and sonically there is that element, but I will say that after getting to know you, there is something about your personality and energy that is so uniquely you and is unparalleled.
Thank you.
And we're just so happy to have you here today. So I just want to get into how we met, because today we're going to be talking about not only your music, but You Start Here. You're the founder of a nonprofit, which you started last year. In June of last year, the LA music scene faced its own long overdue reckoning within the Me Too movement.
It kind of felt like, the way I described it felt like almost like a second wave within like smaller, because I feel like sorry to interrupt you, but I feel like the first Me Too wave, it was very much directed at like the big public eye, people that are like celebrities, so to speak. And I feel like the second wave, especially in LA, kind of hit the underground scene, which is just as important. Not to say that all the bands were like not known, a lot of them were, but it definitely weren't like high profile celebrities, and I think it's important to distinguish the fact that this happens all around us, in every level of the industry and every level of people's lives. It's not just, Harvey Weinstein.
Exactly. And it's not just entertainment or music, it's every single industry. It's important to highlight all the different parts, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry, I just like jumped the gun. I'm like,
whatever you like. So, when this happened, obviously, like Songbird Sessions is a platform for women in music. We really want to highlight that it is a safe space for women to share their art, share their creativity. And, Marina and I, when this was happening, we really wanted to be involved in some way, to do something. And we didn't know what that looked like yet. Maybe doing a show and donating to a nonprofit. We were kind of spitballing ideas. And then I saw an Instagram post that you did, because we followed you because we're a huge fan of your music. You released your debut album in 2018. I've listened to it 100 times. Debut EP.
Debut album's coming this year, though.
Yes. Which you just released your first single off the forthcoming album. Yes, So Baby is called.
Yes.
Just hit over 100,000 streams. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we're at like over that now.
And you just released an acoustic version of that. So go listen to both of those. It's such a fun song. So getting back to, I saw this Instagram post and you had mentioned that you were starting a nonprofit and you're kind of pulling ideas from your followers of what would you want to see in a nonprofit geared towards survivors of sexual assault. And when I read that post, I was like, I have to reach out. I kind of just felt something, and I was nervous as hell because if you just look at your like photos, I was just so intimidated by you. And I'm like, I don't know how you're going to receive this. I don't know if, you'd want to work with us. I was nervous. You're very cool, Ariel.
I'm like the biggest dork in the universe, actually.
Well, I know that now. But your response,
I very much appreciate that.
Your response was so overwhelmingly just like you wanted to jump right in. And from that was born the You Start Here launch event. And, I really want to give the mic over to you to talk about how that started, what the inspiration was, and your own personal experience.
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say like, it's so, oh, what, can you see me?
Yeah.
Oh, I had like a weird technical thing for a second. Sorry. I just want to say like, when I got that message from you, it's so funny that you say you were like so nervous to send it, because like when I got that, it was like, holy shit, like there are other people out there that are just as passionate about this and like want to fucking do something, you know, because immediately I researched who you guys were as well, and like seeing that you were all about uplifting women in music, I already was on board, because I was like, fuck yeah, that's what we need to be doing all the time, you know. But to really integrate, and I hadn't even thought of it yet. Like I knew that I wanted to launch this nonprofit, but I hadn't thought of like how I was going to do that. Like I really thought it was just going to be like this internet presence of like, here's the website, here's what I'm doing, you know. But when you came to me with the idea of involving my music and making like a show to launch this thing, it was really it really impacted me, because I was like, it made me realize that I wasn't crazy, that there were other people out there that saw this, that thought that this was something that was needed. And also it just, you know, to combine those two things, that music has always been the thing I'm most passionate about in the world. You know, from the time I was 15, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. There was no other option for me. Obviously my, you know, standing up for sexual assault survivors, being one myself, I think that that's been a journey that I didn't really find my voice in right away. And in fact, about my own assault, I was pretty silent for a while, which is something we can get into in a little bit. But I just want to say, like, getting that message and just having that idea of like that I could combine these two things that I care about so much was just so, I mean, I like cried. It was like so beautiful to me. And, you know, then as soon as we met over FaceTime and kind of discussed our ideas, like we all just, I think it's safe to say we're all business bitches, and we all just clicked right away. And it just felt very meant to be, and very, very surreally special. Like I felt like I put out this idea of like, hey, this is something I want to do. And then you two like guardian angels just like floated over. We're like, and we're going to do it with you.
Yeah.
It was just like crazy.
It was so organic and just, it was magical how it all came together. Not just the three of us, but all of the women involved in that event.
Yeah. I mean, getting to discuss like how we were, because initially of course we're like, all right, so it's going to be a show, but then when we brought in, you know, a host, Gabby, who was incredible, and then we brought in poetry, Elise, like all of these different, and not to mention the psychoanalyst therapist that we brought in, that we interviewed, you know, just getting all of those things lining up together. Like you said, it felt very organic, but it was very like, I feel like in the midst of putting that launch together, I like got even more confidence for the nonprofit itself, if that makes sense. Yeah, because I just felt like having that team of women come together, it was so badass and it was so inspiring. And I, you know, I was like levitating off of that for weeks afterwards. I still am like, oh, we did that. But it just, it really gave me the confidence for the launch to be like, you know what? Yeah, let's fucking do this. There are people out there that need our help, and this is real. And, you know, there are some badass survivors out there, and let's show them what we're all about. So
love it. Ari, I'm just going to stop you for a second, just for our listeners out there. I think your mic is just catching on your chain. Oh, good.
Can you hear me now?
That's better.
Is that chain part of your shirt?
Yeah.
Oh, cute. For those
yes.
I was like, you know, I've been living in pajamas or just being naked for like a year now. And I was like, if I'm going to be on screen with my ladies, like I got to look cute. So I put on this.
Thanks for dressing up for us.
Love it. I think we're all in the same boat.
Yeah, we got
my boyfriend. Yeah. Oh, thank you, ladies. You look fabulous. My boyfriend got me this for my birthday. I've been wanting it forever. And so I was like, I have an opportunity to show it.
For those of you that are just listening, we'll have to try and describe it. Ari, maybe you have to try and describe it.
Listening, right? I'm like, you can't see us. Well, it's this brand R&M Leathers. They're based out of London, and cool. they make incredible like bralettes, bustiers, but everything's made from leather and chains. And it's just very, I got this, like, originally why I wanted it was to wear it on stage. Like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's a fucking stage outfit if I've ever seen one, and I need it. Yeah. And so, yeah, it makes you feel powerful. Makes me feel powerful.
On that, have you been doing any live streams and many performances like in the last few months?
Yeah, I did one that was like an online festival with several bands that benefited Races, which is an organization that works with refugees. Oh, wow. Sorry, I'm like, my brain isn't working as well right now. So I did that, but I really have been focused right now on finishing my record and putting out some singles leading up to it. So I haven't been doing as many virtual shows. Also with the pandemic, like I just haven't really been seeing anyone, to be honest. I haven't been having like band practice and stuff. But I will say, like, that is definitely, in the pandemic, the biggest hit was not playing shows. So that's definitely taken like an emotional toll. Like, even you mentioning it, I'm like, no, I haven't.
Yeah, and I'm curious, just want to ask you really quickly, because I know when the pandemic first hit and virtual shows started, everyone was really excited to put out virtual performances. And I've noticed there has been somewhat of a decline. I think just the lack of connection between the audience. It was such a cool medium to have access to, but I think like nothing can really compare to the live.
Yeah. Shows, And that's the thing. Like I'm grateful for any opportunity to play, honestly. Like if you guys were like, let's do a show tomorrow, I'd be like, all right, let me get my band, but that being I'm like, so do you want to do a show tomorrow? But that being said, it really, it's not the same as like dancing with an audience, screaming your lyrics back at you and it's sweating on everyone. It's
a different vibe. I remember when we did the You Start Here live stream, live performance, the launch, but when you guys started rehearsing, like doing the sound check, I literally started crying because
I remember
you ran into the bathroom and I'm like, are you
live show?
Because it was like hearing the music in person, I'd forgotten what it was like, and actually being surrounded by it as opposed to just through a computer screen, I was like, holy shit.
I mean, a lot of tears were shed that day. Marina kicked it off with your performance, and I think you just set the tone for the whole day.
I think so,
yeah. I cried a good amount for a long time afterwards. Happy tears, many happy tears. Happy tears.
Very happy.
Yeah.
So I guess, and well, moving on from to keep talking about the You Start Here, where have you got to with it since the launch? Tell us about like what you've done since, what's coming up next. We'd love to keep everyone in the loop.
So it's been literally like a dream come true doing this. It is more powerful and intense, definitely intense, but it's more powerful and uplifting and inspiring than I ever could have imagined when I was actually putting together the idea for it. So basically our main thing that we're doing right now, because of the quarantine, everything's on Zoom. And so we do this thing called expert sessions. And what they are is every month I curate different specialists to facilitate in some form of healing from sexual assault. Oh, so that's another thing I don't know if we mentioned. You Start Here is a nonprofit that specializes in sexual assault survivors. I'm not sure if I like even mentioned that. But
resources, trauma therapy. Do you do the monthly Zoom call meetings, or is that the expert sessions?
That's the expert sessions right now. Okay. Yeah. So basically each expert, I call them my experts, they facilitate some form of healing. So for example, our first one that we ever had was a partnership with this nonprofit called She Is Powerful. And they are a nonprofit where they teach dance to sexual assault survivors and abuse victims. And it's all about getting more involved in your body and feeling movement and feeling grounded. It's more of like a physical therapy, but also it's just fucking fun, and that's what a lot of these sessions are about. I mean, not all of them are fun. Some of them are more intense than others, but it's really about community. I think that when I was starting You Start Here, there were a couple of things that I really felt have helped me in my own journey to healing, which I'm very much still on. Any survivor or anybody that's gone through trauma will tell you that healing, it's not linear, and it's a journey that lasts forever. Some parts of it are more beautiful than others, though, and this has definitely been one of the more beautiful aspects of my healing. But those things were therapy with somebody that specializes in this kind of work. I've been in and out of therapy since I was a kid. I love therapy. I stand therapy. But it wasn't until I got a therapist who specialized in sexual assault. And actually, she specializes in sexual assault and creativity, which is very on brand for me.
Wow. Yes.
It's like kind of crazy. But once I found her, I found that I really made some huge strides in my healing from that particular trauma. And then the other thing was art. If I didn't have my music as an outlet, I really don't know where I would be in that healing journey. Expressing yourself, whether it's literally about your assault or not, just having any kind of art is invaluable, I think. So we also integrate that. We've done like art therapy classes through You Start Here. And then the last thing that is the most important, I think, is community. And that is being able to talk to other survivors, because when it comes down to it, allies are absolutely incredible and like they are so valuable and we need them. But nobody really knows what it's like to be sexually assaulted unless you're a survivor yourself. So talking to other survivors is something that has really helped me. And so when I was coming up with You Start Here, I came up with these expert sessions because I thought it was a way to combine kind of all three of those. You can have the community there with you on Zoom, but then you also are getting expertise from people who, whether, they're a psychoanalyst or a dance teacher, it kind of just all molds all three together. So
I did the breathwork class, and I just want to say, I really wanted to make the dance one, and it looked so much fun because I saw some of the videos and I saw the video you posted. What it's called? Fun. Can you remind me of the company? She
is powerful. She is.
What's their handle? Just if people want to find them.
It's She Is Powerful.
Okay. Perfect.
And I post them all the time on the You Start Here Instagram. I'm obsessed with them.
Yeah. And we'll mention these again at the end, but you can follow You Start Here at the letter You Start Here.
You Start Here, all one word. Yes.
On social media. And she posts all the links for these expert sessions, and you can sign up via newsletter. So I did this breathwork one, and I've thought I've done breath work. I'm like, I breathe during yoga. I do the 10 deep breaths to regulate my nervous system. This was not like that. This was very challenging for me.
Yeah, me too.
I felt very uncomfortable in my body. And I did not go into it thinking that's what it was. But, there is so much scientific evidence behind doing breath work and regulating the nervous system. And, a lot of people are turning to this because it's not easy for everyone to verbalize what they're experiencing in their body, experiencing in their body. So talk therapy can prove to be difficult. So they're turning to these more somatic forms of therapy. But yeah, can you mention the breath work?
Yeah. So the breath work was I think that was like our second expert session, and it was absolutely incredible. I thought the same thing. I thought that I was going to go in the breath instructor. Her name's Kimmy Ricord, and her Instagram is Kimmy from the internet. She's also an incredible musician. I love her. She's amazing. But I went into it thinking like, oh, this is going to be so relaxing. Like I'm just going to breathe through all my issues. And I was honest. I told her at the end, I was like, Kimmy, I did not like that. Like I liked it. Went
into work rattled.
Yeah. Like I liked it in the sense of like, it was a new experience. And it was, to be honest, like what's cool about these expert sessions is like I'm constantly doing research on who can join it. So I'm constantly finding new resources for myself and discovering things as well. Like, yes, I knew about breath work, but I didn't know about it in this, like, I thought it was the same thing, like just in yoga, like okay, like that's, like I didn't realize that there was so much in it. And so having an instructor come in and kind of guide us through that, the breath work that she did specifically, it really brought up a lot of anxiety for me. But that actually was helpful, because then I took that into therapy and was like, why do we think that this brought this up, or what about, so it's, I think that every single one of these sessions, there's something to be learned. I personally have learned something from every single one that we've done, which has been really, really amazing. And actually our next one that I'm really excited about, it's this Sunday.
Please tell us.
Yeah. So it's this Sunday, and we're teaming up with this reading series based out of LA called Rorschach. And basically it's going to be a virtual online reading centered on survivor stories. So what Rorschach does is they have monthly, usually in person, but obviously not right now. But they do monthly series where they have some writers come in from all over, and they read they'll do poetry, or they'll read short stories, or, journal entries, whatever. And then they have this thing called Live Write, which is really cool, where everybody that comes in writes like a sentence or just like a prompt. Basically, it can be anything. And the leader, David, picks like a prompt, and at the end, out of everyone's things, and then everyone has to sit down and write for like 3 minutes based on that prompt. So like, say the prompt is like, I love cheeseburgers. Really weird that I just said that, because I'm a vegetarian.
I love them.
But I'm a vegetarian, so I'm really not sure why.
Ariel does not love them.
I don't love them, but it's the first thing that came to my mind. So then you get 3 different writers writing, like one will write a poem about, her dad who liked cheeseburgers. The other one will write like a journal entry about, whatever. So it's a really like fun experience. With this one, we're going to do it a little bit differently. Usually the Rorschach, they don't have themes. It's literally just about writers. For me specifically, like I started in poetry. Poetry was my first love, even before music. And I have always felt that writing is one of the most healing art forms for anything, regardless of trauma or just your emotions. And so I really wanted to do like a virtual reading centered on survivor stories. And so that's what we're doing this Sunday on Zoom.
Incredible. This Sunday. Well, I'm depending on when this episode comes out, I want to emphasize the date of this Sunday. So
February 28th.
Yes.
Of February.
So it may have passed, depending on when we release this, but please check the You Start Here Instagram and sign up for their newsletter and find out about all the upcoming events.
We also do playlists. To be honest,
have to say, I love your playlists. I follow them, and they're like such a go-to. If I don't know what to listen to that day, I'm just going to go to a You Start Here playlist.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I love them
so much to me. I put a lot of work into them. I really think about them. Thank you. I love a good theme. Like I love themed parties. I love themed birthdays. I love themed dinner. Like I just love themes. Yeah. And so like having a theme for the playlist has been really fun for me to like kind of think about what artists fit that theme and what songs. It's been really special. So it's actually, I talking about You Start Here, I actually I'm lagging on my playlists. I owe you guys one, because I actually took January.
You want it now. You need it.
Yeah.
Why we're doing this interview, to get to this point.
Yeah. It was all about just to tell me to do a playlist. I took January off from kind of doing You Start Here stuff, because as I'm sure you guys know, starting anything is always like a process, and it's a journey to understanding, it's a learning process. You guys started your company from the ground up, and this is my first time ever doing anything like this. I love doing benefit shows, and I put together a benefit for the ACLU last year, and like I love doing shit like that, but like I've never run a nonprofit before. And so I actually found myself needing to take January off, because I needed some time to kind of regroup for myself. I felt like I am like I care a lot about people, and I care a lot about their stories, and I care a lot about justice. And I get flooded with messages every day about survivor stories. And as much as I'm so beyond grateful to have opened up that space and to be a listener, I kind of needed to take a step back because I needed to learn how to separate, how to not I was taking on everyone's trauma, basically.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't, and it's not any kind of negative reflection on the nonprofit at all, or it's not to say that I don't want people messaging me, because I absolutely do. And to this day, like, I answer all messages. But it is, it is just me. And I found that because I care so much, I was having a really hard time like separating everyone's, like, I was basically just fucking pissed all the time. Like, I was just like enraged all the time because of all the stories I hear about, survivors having to jump through loops to even report shit. And it was just like, I was just furious all the time. So I took January off.
I just read the LA Times article about the 4 women that started this, the Lured by Burger Records Instagram. And it was, talking about their experience, how this started as
I read that article too.
Yeah. And it must be so overwhelming to be like, knowing that you are doing this incredible thing and making the space for these survivors, but hearing all of these experiences, and you've had your own experience, and it is so important to be able to take time to kind of regroup and refocus because it's a lot, and
and like I said,
therapists go to university for these things.
Well, they also therapists have supervision, which is where they go to therapy and unload everything.
Exactly.
So it's like a train of and luckily, as I said, I am in therapy and I love my therapist, and I took January off so that I could kind of learn how to be there for people at my best capacity, because when I was taking on all of that and really feeling all of it so deeply, I wasn't at my best self to be able to help these people, because I was just as pissed as they were, or I was just fucking angry, or like I was just like, I couldn't even think of resources to send them because I was just so infuriated, or of course it reminded me of my own assault, and it was triggering. So I took January off. I didn't do an expert session, and now I feel like I'm back. February, I'm really excited for this one, and we have a few planned throughout the year. Our next expert session is with psychoanalyst Nina Savell-Rocklin, Dr. Nina Savell-Rocklin, who is actually also my mom.
I wanted to ask you about that. Your mom is a psychologist, and I'm wondering how. I mean, she's obviously very proud of you, but I was wondering if she was involved at all with this, or giving you some pointers, or tell us about that.
So my mom is going to be, so actually, if we're being real honest, David, who runs the Rorschach, who the reading series, that's my stepdad. So I'm very much like involving my family. I'm really, really, really close with my family, and I'm really grateful to have an extraordinarily supportive family, whether that is my music or, going to my family, telling them that my rapist at the time was suing me for defamation. Like, they have my fucking back, So I've felt like, my family was actually one of the main reasons I started You Start Here, because when all of that stuff came out in June about the music scene, it really sent me into a tailspin. I was very, very, very triggered and very pissed off. And I really didn't know where to put that anger. Yes, I have music, but it didn't feel like enough. Like, I was just like, and my family actually was the one that was like, what if, like, because I've always loved helping people, obviously my mom is a psychoanalyst, like that very much rubbed off on me. I've always been, the friend that people come to talk to. And my parents were like, I think this is something that you'd be really good at. And I was like, fuck, that's a good idea.
That's incredible that you have that support. We only have a couple minutes left. So before we wrap up, I know the time flies.
Sorry,
I can talk to you all night. Oh my gosh, please never apologize. So before we wrap up, I do want to get into So Baby and what you have coming up with music. So tell us about that song, what that song is about, where we can hear it. I know you just released a beautiful acoustic version. Tell us what's going on with that.
Thank you. So Baby just came out in November, the original. It is basically, 2019 was my first year being like completely single since I was probably 15, which is something that I very, very much needed. I very much recommend being alone.
Yeah, we all need that.
So that being said, though, like I wasn't celibate. I was like going on dates and having fun. I just didn't want like a solid relationship. And basically it was a horrific year of like trash men after trash men. And I went into the studio and I wrote this song about basically how fucking fed up I was with people treating me like shit, men particularly treating me like shit, and how I was so much stronger without them by myself, and how ultimately like I cared more about loving myself than catering to a baby's needs who thinks he's a man. So
nice. Powerful message. We're here for it.
Yeah, so I wrote that song, and it's actually done really well, which is awesome.
Congrats.
Thank you. But so I just released the acoustic version because I really want, all of my music is very 80s inspired. I think you mentioned Blondie earlier.
Like new wave, synth.
Yeah, like New Order, The Cure, Blondie. And so I really, like, the original is obviously with those influences. And with the acoustic version, I really just wanted to kind of dial it back and give the lyrics kind of a spotlight. As I mentioned earlier, like poetry is my first love, and so my words are like my babies, and I really just wanted them to like punch people in the face. So
that's amazing.
So that's why I went acoustic. And actually, really quickly before we end, this Friday I'm releasing another song which ties into what we all did together. I'm releasing a live version of my song Awake All Night from the You Start Here launch.
Oh, that's incredible.
I'm really
able
excited
to find that on all the streaming platforms.
It's going to be everywhere.
Well, we are looking forward to it. Ariel, it was such a pleasure talking to you today.
So lovely.
We love you. We miss you.
Yes.
I would talk to you guys all damn day. Sorry.
Thank you guys for joining us. You can follow Ariel at Ariel Bees, Bees. You can follow You Start Here at the letter U Start Here. Thank you again, Ariel, and thank you guys for listening.
Thank you for having me.
With You Start Here and the new music, we're excited.
Oh, I love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Mwah.